Was Al Stauffer your first like primary teacher?
Yeah.
How did you meet him?
He was in the group at the Rickshaw Inn where my father was. He was a friend of my father's.
Okay. So he was performing with your father.
Yeah.
And how did it come to be that you ended up studying with him?
I was 16 and he was talking about chord substitutions to my father, stuff, and how, you know, 5 chords are supposed to have a 2 in front of it. I got interested in it. And so, you know, we'd take, give me some lessons. I was like 15, 16.
Okay. And did you have a guitar teacher before him, or was it just okay?
No, I already knew how to play guitar, and I could read already.
Okay.
You know, but I didn't know anything about jazz.
Wow.
I knew this. You did this G minor here. I knew that lick.
And did your father give you like, you know, lessons? I guess maybe not in the most formal sense, but
not formal now. No, he was just always around when I asked him, you know, a question about a tune or something like that. He would show me. No, nothing. He didn't, you know.
Right.
Didn't have, you know, all.
So you essentially picked up a guitar and then just started on your own path, you know, teaching yourself, and then every once in a while, if you had a question, you'd ask him, and then it became, okay. Oh, interesting. I never even knew that.
I thought it was, you know.
Oh, the wolf hearts.
From a guy named Armando DiCamillo, violinist in the Philadelphia Orchestra. And I sit there with a pencil, and I would be playing it for him, and he hit me on the knuckle real hard. Eighth notes aren't even. Geez, what a drag. Yo, Dad. This guy out here really hurt.
So he would come over to the house and give you these sight reading studies or violin studies?
They weren't sight reading. It was, you know, just okay, now try the next one.
Oh, wow.
It's amazing, man.
And he'd rap you on the knuckles if you had it wrong?
If the eighth notes. I always had to run notes right. It was the eighth notes. They weren't even.
Oh, okay. So it was the rhythm that was a little off.
He's violin, a classically trained violinist.
Wow.
He also told my father that I should have played violin.
Oh.
Instead of.
Well,
yeah.
Do you know why?
Because I had good technique, and I practiced a lot. Yeah.
And how long did those studies with him last? Would he?
Well, it wasn't formally. Oh, maybe a couple of years, on and off. Whenever he came around, sometimes he'd come around all the time.
How old were you then?
14, 15.
14. Okay. And then, so with Al Stauffer, what would Al's lessons be like with you?
That came late.
Right, like you said, 15, 16?
Yeah. I might even been younger with Armando DiCamillo. Hard to remember.
And you studied with Al for about how long?
Oh, from I was 16 till I was 19.
So just when you were joining buddies?
When I went on the road with Buddy Rich, we did it by mail for a while.
Oh, wow.
Then I moved around so much that it was impossible. Okay. And then when I came back, I studied with him again for another 2-3 years.
Wow. And what were lessons like studying with Al?
Well, it would be a cell, and they would get harder and harder. All keys, all fingers. Okay. And a tune.
Okay.
And solo to tune, mostly thirds, mostly fourths, mostly fifths. Target different notes. Target the root of each chord, the third, the fifth. Kind of like the same stuff that I gave you.
Yeah.
I mean, it's funny. I mean, you can only teach somebody from the way, the way I learned. you know?
Yeah. It's hard to teach something that you don't know or haven't really learned, right? Or in a manner in which you haven't experienced. That's interesting. But in studying with Al, did he play guitar at all, or was he just only a bass player? He only played acoustic bass.
I didn't realize it later. One of the best things I could ever do.
Wow.
I had to work out fingerings, everything all by myself. You know, there was none of this.
So that's, in a very similar sense, what I ended up grappling with when I was staying with Jimmy Amadei, is him giving me stuff like, play this voicing, and telling him, like, how am I supposed to play that? He goes, that's your problem, Prez.
Yeah, but a lot of times, just like piano players, you know, Al didn't know the voices, but he knew when to play them all.
Okay.
When the chord was wrong. Like, I remember, he told me there's a note missing in that chord. And then he fiddled around on the bass and said, oh, you need it's an old man at 11.
Wow.
Next time, it's always has a D flat or C sharp. That's why I get the bass line from there. B, E, B minor 7, E 7, A, B, G, C, F. We had a lot of tunes with you know, I learned a lot of tunes with the substitutions. And I didn't know the original changes until after many years later. I remember the first tune that I learned in all 12 pieces, I remember right. Another tune. Al said the chord was A minor, D minor 7. He was more general about it.
Okay. So it's
really A minor 7, D 7, B minor 7, E 7. I remember I asked him about it. He said, no. This is why I wouldn't play it like that for. He said, it's not a tag there. Doesn't sound like a tag. And then he'd find some records. Does that sound like a tag? Listen to the piano player. Or he said, listen to what the guy soloist is playing. It's not, you know, A minor. It's not that. This guy was playing something from A major.
Oh, wow. So did Al, at the time, you know, you mentioned Bill Evans, were there other players, at least, or that you were keenly interested in and you listened to a lot? Oscar
Peterson, Charlie Parker. Remember Al sitting there and said, listen to Charlie Parker, man, listen to him spit out those notes. You know? And then Coltrane, of course, you know?
Yeah.
Coltrane things. And then, you know, we studied a lot of Coltrane. And then we did this too, believe it or not. Okay. And they said, just play off a C.
Like a pedal point?
Just keep playing C. And then here, still C. C, C.
Oh, okay.
B. G anything. G. B flat. C. But it could be anything. It could be. He didn't care about. He didn't care about any of that. You know. He said, "How do you know the piano player is going to play that chord? How do you know what he's going to play? You don't know." He says, and he said, he explained it a different way. To me, I say that only lines up in the book.
One of the things that you get to hear is how that particular note sounds in all those varied contexts, right? Because, you know, one of the things in theory that I think people get way off track about is they learn like a theory. and then they say, okay, I can do this and I can play this note against this chord. And whenever they see that chord, they just figure, hey, there's that chord, I can play that note. And they don't really ever listen to it and realize that those notes, or at least a chord, like if you took a voicing, in a vacuum, that voicing has a particular sound, right? But when you put it into a context of harmony and you've heard something prior to it and then you're hearing something after it, that same voicing isn't going to sound exactly the same.
There it is, snapshot analysis, some of it called. Take a beat, you know, and it's really moving all the time. There's three parts to it.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
If you comp G7 and you go, and the bass player plays a D flat,
right.
Well, now your chords, you know, and
sure,
you don't have to follow with the, you know, with the,
right. But that G7, for example, if you were playing a blues in G versus, you know, a tune in minor and there's a minor some flat 5 before it, you can play the same voicing and it's a different chord.
Chord function different. You know, to me, it's a B flat blues. The B flat 7, it's not a 5 anymore. That's the run.
Mm-hmm. Right.
4, 1, then comes 2 5, so it's going to go to E flat. Shut up, dude. Stop. Diminish, and then any turnarounds too.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what. Doesn't mean you have to solo.
Mm.
It all fits because it's not like if you play, for example, if you're playing a piano part, it's not going to go bang, 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 go B flat. You know, maybe if you went to music school or you read looking out of a real book.
Yeah.
Maybe.
But you made a point about the bass player. So the bass player sort of has the upper hand, right?
He controls the name of the note and how it functions.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
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 You know, and that's why it's better when you can't. Not to. I always leave the roots out.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I've always mentioned I've mentioned to students never to mess with a bass player because the bass player can make your life an absolute hell very easily.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. I mean, they you know, they also have control of the time.
Too. Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
He's got to lock up with the ride cymbal of the drummer, and if they don't match, you're screwed.
You mentioned that about Craig, yeah, and how he would play on a certain part of the beat, and then you know the drummer and him would have.
He would change with different drummers.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know.
Now, like one of the luminaries, I guess. Yeah.
We never even talked about. That he was going to do that. Sometimes he'd say, "Oh man, I don't like that drummer. It's like pulling the train."
Yeah.
You got to play behind the beat, you know. And I'd rather play with somebody that rushes. I think than I don't know. I take it back because I'm thinking about guys that rush. You know, you can't play the head anymore. Like, and then you get the end. You know, and you don't realize it to the end. You go, geez, you know, or like this too. No, Relaxin at Camarillo. Really hard. Nothing's on the beat.
Wow.
Joe Beck, Don Pisano, and Jim Ewart and Colin Bailey on bass does that too. That's where I learned it from. Terrific.
Wow. Now there were at the time that you were coming up, there were other luminaries as far as teachers like Joe Sgro and the Sandole, of course. Did you ever?
Sgro wasn't a jazz teacher.
Okay.
He was this guy, most guy. He was this guy, and the right hand picking technique.
Okay. Okay.
You know, he's the guy who developed that, not Frank Ambali. Mr. Mode.
Yeah. So Joe
Uh,
Sgro had developed that, that style of picking.
As far as I know, Jimmy Rainey came up with something too, and so did another guy. Might have been Barry Galbraith. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Other people had came up with different things. But see, to me, I think Joe Sgro was first because, he didn't go, he didn't, he went to, okay, I'm talking. He went to jail because Jehovah's Witnesses. He was really a violinist, Joe Sgro.
Okay.
He went to jail for a long time.
Because
of his really conscientious objector. They used to put you in jail.
Oh, because he
wouldn't get a violin in jail, so for some reason he had a guitar. And that whole picking technique, it came from the bowing of the violin. That's what he told me. If you think about it, they could go to have to switch a string, one down bow.
Mm.
Go the other way, you see?
Yeah.
And if you're on the same string, you have no other choice. Down, up, or up, down. See, if you make the downstroke sound as good as the upstroke. That's down, up, triplets.
Oh, interesting.
See, it way ahead of his time.
So Joe Sgro started playing the guitar when he was in jail.
I think so.
Because he didn't have access to a violin.
I think so. But, Italian families in those days, everybody had a guitar in the house.
Yeah.
So he may have been, I'm sure he could play a couple chords.
Yeah. But he was predominantly a violinist.
Yeah.
That was his main axe. And he was all classical. There was he didn't really do any jazz.
Right. I mean, he did make a couple records, believe it or not.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Not jazz. His guitar playing was just fantastic.
Wow. But he wasn't a classical guitar. He didn't play classical guitar either.
No. But much cleaner than that.
Wow.
All that.
Interesting. But you never took any lessons with him?
No. I got this whole secondhand from a guy named Joe Lano.
Joe Lano.
Who studied with Joe Sgro and then went on to study with Dennis.
Okay. And
so he came up, marked the Wolf Art book. Up, down, up, with the strokes on it like that. So after a while, I didn't need to, I got the idea.
Oh, interesting.
It was more like that, okay. That's Wolf number 2. So that's down, up, down. Then here and up, because you want to get these 3 downs.
Right. Interesting.
And just can't have it. I can't play down, up no more.
Yeah.
Your head out the way. You're always in the area. And I chose to study with Al. It was like 2 camps then. Silly. I don't know, but it was like that.
Oh, really? There was a Sandole camp and the Stauffer camp.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah. Yeah, it was pretty far out then. And it wasn't made up by Al or Dennis. Students from different guys got into that.
Yeah.
They argue with Tom Giacobetti all the time about that.
Oh, Was there a very competitive air back then among musicians that were coming up or aspiring players?
Yeah, but not for work. It is hard to put into words. I really don't know. It's like who did you study with, like it mattered.
Yeah.
Later, the only thing that mattered was whether you could play or not.
Did Al always sing along with his bass lines?
Yeah, as far as
And that never was something that he had you do?
No. He didn't care about that. He just cared about whether you did everything in all 12 keys, because if you didn't, he'd throw you out. Okay, come back when you can do in all 12 keys, not 4 keys. That's no good.
Did he ever throw you out? Did he ever?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, in the beginning. He says, he's a big guy. He had a voice like a dog.
Yeah, I remember.
Where's that bullshit? Where's that bullshit? Yeah, a couple times of that, and like, I would go. call him and I'd say, Al, I don't have it in all the keys. That's not to come by. And then again, he would basically give me the same lesson over again.
Yeah.
Until you could, until he would show you something new. It was the same thing.
Well, what I've noticed,
he liked it. He would do that, but man, he treated some other guys like dog shit. Other people that would come not be prepared. He used to throw them out all the time. I can remember sitting in the thing waiting to go in, and that became the entertainment. Just sit there and just listen to him in this little room that had paneling. Like you guys having shit together. And we all sit outside, Bruce Klauber was there one time. And he taught all kinds of instruments, everybody. Not just guitar, not just bass,
What years were you
there? He had a
there?
reputation of being a jazz player in L.A. He would never work in studios because they figured that jazz players can't read.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So that would not be an advantageous thing for them to know if you...
No. It was a good way to get noticed.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
But not, you don't want to be known as, he's one of them Dante guys, plays the Dante, you know what I mean? Good. And it's true, it did work out. It did kind of work out like that. Whatever the jazz guys were. What I saw is that guys would go out and make, $400 or $500 a day in the studios, and then they could afford to go out and play jazz at night. It was paid so lousy.
Did you find, from your experience, that practicing very slowly was more helpful than going really, really fast?
Yeah, absolutely. Because now you got the right notes. Now sometimes people that practice fast would practice fast and make the same mistakes just faster.
Right. Because you sort of end up repeating the mistake and you practice the mistake, right?
Yeah, you practice the mistake along with the rest of everything else you're doing wrong. Sound. What about, that never, how about getting a good guitar sound?
Yeah.
That never, very, very, very little was written about that.
Yeah. Was that something, yeah.
What is a good sound? Well, it's different for other people. I think Wes Montgomery had a great sound. But I also heard some recordings where he sounded not so good.
Yeah, the tone, yeah.
Barney Kessel.
Oh, yeah.
Great player. But, Tony Rizzi knew him very well. He says Barney Kessel would plug into an amp and he only knew two knobs, volume and tone. So that was it, those old-time amps.
Yeah.
They came, bass and treble, that confused him. It's like tone, no tone. Remember Greg said tone, no, what does that mean? But he knew how to do that, and then, the mid-range, forget it. I remember when the mid-range came out, I was like, what the hell does that do? I knew volume, bass, and treble. It was easy. The more knobs that they put on amps, the more confused I got, because I always went back to my same settings. I still do it to this day. I plug into the amp, get a guitar, whatever I happen to be playing. I put everything at 12 o'clock. That's the volume.
Yeah.
And I start there and then tweak it from there. And after a while, I found out, well, wait a minute. If it's got too many highs, I would just roll off the tone of the guitar. Or, a lot of times, if I wanted to get it darker, I turn up the volume of the amp and just use the volume knob on the guitar. And that made a really nice, fat jazz sound.
I've heard that Jim Hall would do that. I think he uses his volume that way.
Right, yeah. Guys find, they find things their own way. I mean, look at Pat's sound. It's very dark, it's very percussive. It fits his style of playing.
Yeah.
And Jim Hall, another wonderful guitar sound, very light strings.
Yeah.
It fits the style. I don't know. I don't like everybody's sound. Hank Garland came around.
Yeah.
I liked his ideas, and he had a little twang with his guitar sound, but it was so clear. You know?
Yeah. What about someone like Les Paul?
Right. Well, yeah, well, he was an electronic innovator. He had a lot of sounds, but that was also a very clean guitar sound.
Yeah.
Not dark, but very, very clean.
But that sort of slapback effect that you'd hear, like on records with Mary Ford. Oh.
Yeah. Real innovator, electronic innovator.
Yeah.
You know, he gets his guitar playing gets looked over. You know, it's like, come on, you know, that's a shame.
Yeah.
Joe Beck. Sometimes he got a good guitar sound, sometimes he did. His music was always first class.
Yeah.
You know, he used to go around, like everybody else who tried going on the road with an amp, polytone amp. And even back in those days, he would just plug into a PA.
Oh.
People would ask me, you know, what I have to have a PA to plug into, no more amps.
Oh, wow. So you just go direct. You didn't want, and it saved you from having to haul around an amp.
Yeah.
What's your feeling, you know, on using reverb or, I mean, any effect? I mean, there's a lot of guys play drive. I mean, they didn't even use reverb. I mean,
I like a little bit of reverb.
Yeah.
I think. Like I don't know. I like Jimmy Rainey's sound, very dry.
Yeah.
You know, I like a little bit.
Yeah.
I do. It's just, you know, especially if you play with drummers, you know, gives you the notes a little more space. It makes them sound bigger than they are.
Right. And what about as far as your experience, you know, being in the studio, you had to have at some point, you had to use some delay or overdrive or, you know, wow.
Kind of pedal.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was no fun.
You never found any of the sounds like, oh, this is sort of an interesting sound, like,
nah.
But it was just more of a distraction?
No, I didn't like any of it. You know, it was like, it would always be, even in Vegas, it would be like that too. It was like, you know, okay, you got to play like a rock, some kind of solo or some line with a rock sound.
Mm-hmm.
I never knew if it was going to be loud enough.
Oh.
You know, or how about if you go, you know, because they all have an output, distortion boxes and shit like that.
Sure.
Or how about you go to play the solo and it's like, wow, it can't hear it, you know. So I would always err on this thing of being too loud, and then somebody said, hey, get a volume pedal. Now, if you think it's too loud, just back off. You can tell it with 2 notes.
Yeah.
You know, because you didn't get very much chance to try it out.
Right.
You know, maybe at the rehearsal you might have, but you know, you got to watch that. You don't move any of your shit around. Don't move your knobs, because now then you're screwed.
But how did you view players like, you know, Jimmy Page and, you know, Hendrix and
didn't do anything for me.
You know,
nothing.
Huh.
Still don't like them. I mean, I don't dislike them, but that's what am I going to say?
Yeah. It was just not your. It was just not your taste. You're just sort of like, eh.
No, not at all. I didn't. You know, I think some of them need guitar lessons too. But you know, I'll tell you what. I love Bonnie Raitt.
Yeah.
You know, I like Willie Nelson. Joe Walsh.
Oh yeah.
I like him. Jay Grady.
Are there players that, you know, you have such a different perspective when you're a kid, right? And you're coming up, and your tastes are different. You know, have you noticed, you know, right now when you look back, like, wow, I really didn't care for that, but now I really dig it, or the opposite, you know, where you really like something and then you're like, I don't know, I'm burned out.
I would say like studio players and like a lot of those people I would mention. I mean, if somebody said to me, here, man, check out this girl playing guitar, Bonnie Raitt, I would have looked at them, what are you insane? You know? I mean, I still, you know what, it's pure soul.
Yeah.
It's just, you know, there's no bullshit in that music at all. There's no theory, there's nothing. It's great feel. Is that what you miss when you're young? You don't get that person's feel gets overlooked. You know, and then that's the most important thing in music is feel, I think, no matter what kind of music.
Yeah. Well, that's
Michael
the
Jackson.
time. Yeah.
I like some of his stuff. You know, not all of it, but then again, I don't like all my shit either. You know, but I mean, some tracks, man, geez, talk about a time fit and what a groove.
Yeah.
You know, on eighth notes, he could really sing like right on that, in that pocket. And then, of course, there's Sinatra and Tony Bennett. You know, not a vocal equal, but time wise and feel wise.
Yeah.
All three of them are different, but I think they're all good. You know, Willie Nelson, comes to mind. You know,
Yeah.
just like doesn't have a great voice. He's not going to dazzle anybody with his guitar playing, but it just sounds so damn good.
Yeah. And wrote a lot of great tunes, and some people don't realize how many songs he's written.
See, that's another thing. I never really gave a shit about lyrics until, well, I started to notice that with jazz tunes, when I started to play for singers, oh, boy, you got to know the lyrics. Sometimes you have to play a chord. If they have a rest, like Body and Soul,
right?
You have to hear that first chord.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so then I started to think, geez, what are the lyrics? I started to listen to lyrics to rock tunes and stuff, and I found the same thing. Well, not exactly the same thing, because sometimes rock music and some of that other pop music is all they had was lyrics and nothing else going for it. So every once in a while, got pretty good lyrics, and Willie Nelson, again, Bonnie Raitt.
When did you notice that you had that sort of shift in your taste and you started recognizing these things? Was it way down?
Good question.
Like, did it surprise you? Did you hear something? You're like, hey.
The last 10 years, I think.
Wow.
Maybe when I 55, 54. 10 years, maybe.
Did it surprise you?
See, now I know. Yeah, I notice it all the time now. You know, if I get in the car, I always listen to jazz, you know?
Yeah.
I don't anymore. I listen to the oldies. Or I like music from the 80s, there's a station. Yeah. Not all of it, but sometimes some of those tunes are pretty good.
Yeah.
Stevie Wonder.
With, like, Buddy Rich, has that, sort of a notorious personality, of course, right? And, did you ever get any insight into, like, why he was so tyrannical?
Because he had to keep 15 maniacs in control. It actually was 18 people.
Yeah.
The band guy, the band boys, the road manager, he had to keep everybody in line. I mean, can you imagine a whole bunch of drunk musicians traveling around? Not everybody, but I'm saying.
Yeah.
A whole busload of goddamn musicians. If they weren't afraid, so many things could go wrong.
Yeah.
And it was Buddy's own money a lot of times that he paid that band with.
Oh, wow.
So he didn't take no shit from anybody, And at the time, you think, I was like, man, he's insane. He's not insane. No, he's not, until I started traveling around trying to get three guys, a bass player and a drummer to go on the road. Get that, a couple times. That was a nightmare. Late, how you be late for an airplane? That used to happen.
Yeah.
Now that made me understand. That's why, you wouldn't think of doing that. Oh, he'd kill you. You'd actually be afraid physically because he punched out a lot of guys. He really did.
Really?
Oh yeah, sure he did. Oh, absolutely. And he only had to do it a couple times. It was the threat of that he could do it.
Yeah.
There was a great guitar player. I'll tell you a funny story. We named Don Oliver. Okay, and he was the guitar player at the MGM playing production show. So when the conductor would take a vacation, Don would be the conductor, okay? And I would sub. I would play guitar book, okay?
Yeah.
And this guy, I saw him, okay? He'd play cards between first and second show. A bunch of other guys like that, okay? And he really was a nice guy. But some dancer came in, said, Mr. Overberg, those tempos, you know, they weren't right. It's different than the first show. Okay, now see, now that could become an issue for a conductor every night. Okay?
Yeah.
So here's what he does. Guy came in one time, never told him again. He was drinking beer. He smacked the beer bottle, broke it on the table, threw the guy against the wall. He says, I got a metronome in my head. You ever come back here again, tell me the tempo was no good, I'll cut your goddamn throat. The guy ran in and he put the beer. He says, was it my deal? Like it was, the whole thing was an act. And I says, Don, what are you doing? He says, I don't want to start that shit. He'll be in here every show. Too fast, too slow. I can't do my steps. You know, he had one of them metronome, a watch that, you know. I'll never forget that, you know. And getting back to Buddy, you know, same kind of mentality in a way.
Now, in developing chops and technique, I mean, you mentioned earlier about, you know, there was sort of a competition between camps, you know, the Sandole and Stauffer camp, but was there any competition in terms of, like, technically speaking, between players?
Not really. Everybody had technique.
Yeah.
It was like, it would be like, see, everything was with Al, and in those days, everything was compared to a violinist.
Oh.
You know, I mean, can you imagine a violin player in an orchestra who has no technique? Can't play anything. Can't play most of the repertoire. Most of it.
Yeah.
You know? So everybody, it was a given. You had that technique.
Where, you know, when you were coming up, were there any things that you found you struggled with more than what most people would assume? You know, because I mean, you know, you hear players play and like you get a perspective of them that's sometimes not quite reality, and you make assumptions like, hey.
The last thing that I learned before becoming a professional musician, I think it was in my 30s, was learn to fake a tune. That was hard for me. Some notes, I could tell the root, if the melody in C and chord was C, that was easy. Major sevens were very easy. Ninths were always new. I could tell what the chord is.
Right.
Minors, ninth. You know, the hardest one for me was the sixth. Like, chord C, the melody knows A. I found a trick to that too. With that, when I would hear it, I'd go. The other ones would just light up in my head. I just knew it. That one, it didn't. Oh, must be the sixth, and I was always right because it's the only one that doesn't really have a.
Yeah. It's more subtle, right?
Yeah.
It's more. It has a more neutral character.
Minor 11.
Yeah.
Minor 11s. Very easy. Sus. 9. 5th. The 5th and the root are similar to me. The 3rd and the 7th are similar to me. The 9th, the 11th, and the augmented 11th are very easy. And then the 13th, there you go again, it's 6th.
Yeah.
You know? So that took a long time.
Wow.
Took a long time. You know, see, I spent most of my time working on technique, learned how to read, writing charts for people when I lived in Vegas. You know, that was a whole other skill.
Yeah.
No texture, you know, and so that was the last, you know, if you have a job reading music, you tend to not, you forget about your ear, you know?
Because you don't have to, you're not really listening, you're having to process it from a visual point.
Yeah, doing something else.
Yeah. Do you find that did that happen to you when you were doing studio work in LA, or with like Tommy Tedesco? Did you ever?
Well, it was all about reading the music and playing the part.
Yeah.
You know, you did have to eventually learn how to use your ear, but in a different way. You know, it's like, well, how would you got these four notes to play? How do you think this guy wants to play it? You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's a different part of your ear, you know, it's more like mental.
Right.
More than like here, what chord is this? You know, what's the next chord going to be? That's different.
What was the Tommy Tedesco story where he had you go into a studio and he had a rack that wasn't plugged in and didn't tell you that fact?
Yeah,
that was a good story.
For him, and he says, well, I said, what about the guitars and stuff? He says, well, bring your own, but I have my cartage company show up. Anyway, he says, well, why? He says, well, the producers, they like to see lights and stuff. It looks like you know what you're doing. And man, I'm scared anyway. I'm really nerved out. I'm plugging in. I'm going, shit, there's no sound coming. Tommy, I can't get any sound to come out of the amp. He says, well, you didn't plug it to the board, did you? I said, yeah. He says, oh, it's not connected. What do you mean it's not connected? He says, that's the show. He says, look on the bottom. There's a briefcase there in case they want a phaser. I have a phaser there, and a fuzz tone, and a wah-wah panel. That's all you need. That's all bullshit. He says, they're not connected.
How long did you live in LA? So
8 years.
So you were with Buddy for about a year, right? And then you went to Vegas?
And then I came home for a while.
Okay.
I started taking lessons again with Al. We had a little trio.
Okay.
We did work. I remember I went from making $3,000 for the year to the first year in Vegas I made $30,000, then eventually 90.
Wow.
You know? So too young, very little brain, and a lot of money. Everything wrong, every bad thing they want to do.
Yeah.
Hey, what am I going to do? Yeah, is that bad? Yeah, okay, that's the biggest spot. Yeah.
Did you ever reach points like whether it was growing up and learning how to play, or where you just sort of wanted to call it quits and you're like, all right, I'm just
Oh yeah, when I left L.A.
When did you leave L.A.? Was it the mid '80s?
No, I don't know. I was 35.
Okay. And then you went back to Philly.
Yeah, I'm 35. I said I'm done with the guitar. I'm done with music.
Okay.
And then within that year, I wound up being a bartender at this place down the street from where I lived. And then I started to play there. And then from there, I started to play at JJ's Grotto. He taped everything and got signed with Concord Records. It happened in a way I never expected it to.
Yeah. Well, you decided that you wanted to.
Tedesco called. He called him. He says, you know what, Jerry, don't be so depressed about going back there. He says, why? He says, because you're going to be a hero now when you go back to Philly. You're the guy that went to Vegas and went to L.A. and played this shit, that shit. Now you're going back and says, you're a hero. You'll be a big fish in a little pond. You know? And in a way, it came true.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what was the breaking point was there a specific instance where you just said, all right, I'm done with LA. I'm coming back to Philadelphia. And that's or was it something that built up over time?
Yeah, I didn't like to work. My son Jimmy was having trouble in school. He wasn't going to school, and there's more than one thing, So I said, I got to go back there, And the thing of, how do you go from like making $400-500 a day to going out and go play a wedding to play tie yellow ribbon for $150 or $100, $75? Yeah, how can you do? You can't do that. I couldn't. I'd rather not play the guitar.
Yeah.
I'd rather be a bartender, which I did. I liked doing it.
Yeah.
Made it more than a musician.
Yeah. But you also wanted to not compromise your passion for playing jazz.
No,
right?
I figured if I'm going to play guitar, I want to play jazz.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'd rather not play. I mean, what else am I going to play? I did the Vegas thing, I did the LA bullshit. You know, when I was younger, I did the avant-garde. Let's play real weird so nobody knows what the hell you're playing, including yourself. You know, and the audience knows everybody's walking around going, wow, far out, man, avant-garde. You know.
How did it come to be that you came across like Jack Prince and JJ's?
Because when you run a bar, I was running that place downstairs. Yeah. And so who do you hang out with? Bartenders, other managers of places. That's how I met Jack. And because I started the place Sunday Brunch there.
Okay.
At Feathers, it was called. And then I realized, wait a minute, you can't manage the place and, you know, be playing. You know, you're just seeing too many things that are wrong, you know. And so I met Jack, and he says, hey, I have, I'm thinking about I have some, every once in a while I have jazz. They want to come and play for me. And then it turned into, you know, from a Monday night, Wednesday night, and then it was Wednesday night, Friday night, Saturday night. Got into that, and we would tape every night and kept sending it to Concord Records. He did that before I even knew what he was doing. He told me.
Oh.
So you had your mind.
Oh, so he was doing that without you even knowing.
Yeah, I said, I want to make a CD. And I says, well, save your money. What are you going to do with this? I'm going to send it to Concord Records because they have the most guitar players signed. And he did. Spent $3,000 of his own money. Oh. You know, we recorded the thing, and he bothered Carl Jefferson until he listened to it. And when he heard it, I got signed. Even Jack said, man, I can't believe it. Got your record deal, you know?
Wow.
Good guy. Good guy.
And when you got into that, when you started playing like jazz and just bona fide, that was it. You got to meet, you got to meet Hank Garland, right? Of course.
I got to meet.
But you got to meet sort of heroes, right?
Everyone. Everybody.
Wow.
Yeah.
And we're
Jim Hall. The last.
Jim Hall was the last one?
Yeah, it was always like, man, one day I'm going to meet him, you know? And I did. I was with Pat Martino. We were doing something in Boston, some kind of guitar congress, some shit like that. Sure enough, there he was. Nice guy. And Alan Holdsworth, too. That I had met when I was with Buddy Rich and played Ronnie Scott's. And his band was playing in the middle. Buddy would do a show, and his band would play. Okay. And I remember sitting out there going, holy shit, what is he playing? You know, completely different.
Yeah.
You know.
So you really appreciated Holdsworth.
But I never did get to meet. I just, you know, I didn't know what to say. I just really, I met him years after, same time I met Jim Hall. And it was Pat Martino. There was a lot of good guitar players were for Martin Taylor.
Yeah.
Met Martin Taylor there too. And if I think about it, yeah, lots of guys.
What was the best compliment that you ever got that you weren't expecting to get from a player?
Jim Hall,
really?
Oh, he said, well, I mean, he's not known for guys that have a lot of technique. He doesn't really like that. He says, "Boy, you're better than I could have imagined."
Wow. You didn't expect that coming. You were like, wow.
No. I figured, oh boy, he's gonna hate me. You know, I didn't at the time. I didn't know how to play. You know, I know now I can do it. You know.
Yeah.
I like to do it.
Yeah.
You know.
But you also feel like you became sort of known, or there was an expectation almost for you to play breakneck tempos and play really up.
I turned into a drag.
And then you started to. At what point did you finally go, man? You know, I don't like being pigeonholed this way.
No, maybe. Trying to think. After the Birdland records, 2 Birdland records, I was done with it. I pretty much didn't want to do that anymore. There's a little bit of it on the Joey record, not so much. But that's because, I mean, look the way Joey plays.
Yeah.
You know, I the size was there. I don't know, gradually just went with polarity.
Yeah.
Real different. You know, I mean, Joe controlled all the harmonies. All I had to do was play single notes, and I never know what he was going to do to the chords. So how you going to play a lot of? You can't.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't know what he was going to play, and also the way the guitar was tuned, I didn't recognize them. Like, what is that? You know, of course the voices would come out like a piano.
Right.
Kind of like these kind of voices.
How did he tune the guitar?
The whole guitar was tuned. Okay, E string. Now this is complicated. E string was an A.
Okay.
Okay, so the whole guitar is down a fifth.
Okay.
Okay, and the D and the G strings, which are now two different names, right?
Right.
Up and up, up and up.
Oh,
So,
wow. So
the fingering stays the same.
Okay.
Okay, now if I take away the transposition, I can do it. Okay, so imagine this: you have G, A. Now this G is coming out here, and the C. So it's coming out like this. Would that be right? I have to think about that. That being up to, yeah, it would come out. Chords would come out like this, very open sounding. Then if you took one of these chords, Johnny Smith chords, okay, so you get G, B flat would come out up here, and D would come out up here. See, so you get this big down. Now it's really like a piano.
Wow. At what point did Joe start experimenting with different tunings like that?
I have no idea.
Oh.
No idea. No idea.
Did you ever get into any of that, trying to, you know,
I tried to play. I mean, you could play the guitar. I could play the guitar. The fingering was the same.
Yeah.
But you know, where do you play the melody? I couldn't figure that out.
Yeah.
He had it down where he could put the melody in the middle. So I mean, so he's like playing, like, let's see. So that would be, but those notes would come out up here.
Yeah.
So would come out, you know, and a little bit of chorus on it.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And you got to remember, he's in another key too, because the guitar's a fifth lower.
Right. There's a transposition.
I couldn't look at his hand.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. It would mess you up. Right.
Yeah, you really get, you know, between the octave and like what key, like we played Summertime, he would have to play Summertime in D minor. And sometimes he would get mixed up and I would get mixed up. And he would play, he said, Jimmy, am I E minor? Or is it D minor? He says, I don't know. He said, play an A minor. Play an A minor. Go, oh, okay. I'm in D minor. You know, it got very confusing.
When did you first meet Joe? It was long before you.
At an AM show.
At an AM show.
At an AM show, yeah.
How did it come to be that you guys decided to do a recording together?
Because we did something at Duquesne University together. They invited him out and we played a duet together. And he says, man, we should make a record. We should do that record. And I pitched it to Concord. And they said, okay. You know, because I did one with Howard Alden and do a record. And, you know, they heard a couple of tracks of this. We recorded a couple of things. Joe had a studio in his house, maybe one or two things, not even whole tunes, just so they could hear it. And they said, okay.
Did you find when you would record albums, it was difficult to listen back to them? Like listen back to your playing?
Still is. You know, you have to think about this, you know. You make a record, okay, you heard it when you played it, you heard the playback of it, you know, and you go, I didn't like that line there, or whatever, you know, it's never going to be perfect.
Yeah. And
then you have to sit through the mix. You hear it again now, but by this time you really hated it. And then the mastering, is this okay? By that time, it's like, here, like to give it a CD and make a frisbee out of it. I not only don't want to hear it, I don't even want to look at it. You know, it's, you have to let I found out you have to let a lot of time go by. Maybe 6 months from the recording to when you listen to it, I think you can actually have an objective viewpoint of it. Maybe 6 months, you know, and still, it's always going to be some shit you don't like. There's a mistake on every one of my CDs, I think.
Yeah. But but you're probably the only one that notices it, right?
Well,
because it's one of those things, like you're aware that you made the mistake, but no one else knows unless, of course, you tell them that.
Sometimes there's mistakes that I didn't realize until
later
after I listened to it. Like, for example, from the first record, okay? Big Shoes.
Uh-huh.
Which is No Greater Love. Okay, the mistake was on the bridge. I found the music. Right? I played. That's what I played. But I wrote this, beginning of the bridge. So every time I played it, that's not it. Now I don't even know what the mistake is. Yeah, I played that. It's supposed to be this. And throughout the whole tune, the whole time.
But to the average listener, they don't know that, right?
No, because it's the original tune.
Well, but it's also one of those things, because you mentioned time being the most important thing. If most people, when they listen to music, there's that feeling of the consistency and continuity of time.
Yeah.
And it tends to be that they'll notice a break in that much more easily than if there's a wrong chord or note or whatever happens.
Also, the other thing too is they notice you got a weird, if you play with a bizarre sound, people will notice that. And when they say first thing, music critic, innovative. Innovative because he's making his guitar sound like a piece of shit. That's innovation. They can't sit and tell one note from the next. They're all told that. They can't even write. They're even bad writers.
So out of all of the albums you've done so far, like what are among the ones that are least cringing, cringe-inducing for you?
Clarity and Midnight Blue.
Clarity and Midnight Blue.
And the one I did, the recent project with Frank Vignola. There's more. Howard Alden, that record. Concord Jazz Guitar Collective.
Yeah.
Midnight, but see, for different reasons though. Midnight Blue I like because I like the tunes that I do. And I also like the guitar sound because that's what the guitar sounds like live in a club.
Right.
They really got that right. The one with Howard was, we wrote a tune together on there. I forget the name of it. I had written some tunes for that too, which I liked. I don't play them much anymore. If you write original tunes, you gotta have a rehearsal.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Look at Pat. Pat Martino does a lot of original tunes, but he rehearses.
Yeah.
So.
Sure. Well, because you can't rely on the other people having heard it before.
I'm gonna interpret the music and whatever, first time through.
I appreciate it.
We come back.
How is the album with Frank doing?
Oh, it's doing real good.
Really good.
Yeah, well, 1 week so. Well, it's really not. If you download the whole thing, it's like maybe 1,000 downloads already.
Oh wow!
And the first check is coming either today or tomorrow, and it's just more royalty money I ever got in Concord.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Well, that's cool.
Really good. I think Frank's a genius. He figured out this business, He sent me an email one time. He was talking about the money. He said, not bad for two dopes.
But the business part of it is probably one of the biggest lacking things in musicians, in terms of their background.
And it changes all the time, Yeah. And he convinced me about this. He says, Jimmy, just think about this. Can you hear that record Joe Pass and Herb Ellis? Can you imagine if you were at the rehearsal? What did they talk about? How did they decide on the chords? And then to actually have that on film and then actually watch them record it in the studio.
Yeah.
And it hits, man, my God. I paid hundreds and hundreds of dollars for that. This thing's only $29, something like that.
Yeah.
And the music's real good, perfect. You know, did it with no rehearsal. And I like the fact that it's not perfect. Because to me, that's a jazz record.
Well, it's about the vibe and the intention and the sincerity of the playing, right?
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to.
We really had to listen to each other. It was a lot of fun to do. And we hadn't played together in, goddamn, 20 years.
What was it like playing with him? You know, I mean, you guys recorded in 1995. You know, over 20 years later.
Yeah.
What was the feeling like playing with him then? I mean, I know Howard wasn't on it, but
he still has the best feel for guitar player. Still has that, and he's much more modern, harmonically and linearly than I remember him being. You know, and which is only natural. I mean, you think about 20 years ago, I didn't play the same way.
Sure.
So he grew too.
Yeah.
You know, he's really playing great. Really is.